Welcome to another episode of the Mark Jackson Show. I'm Mark Jackson. That's the dynamic one, my guy BLUU. We got a special guest. We're going to come and talk me network. Shout out Canon Mace for the special guest today. So let's pay some bills first, BLUU.
I got you, Pop. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy. Go ahead and click the link in the description and use the promo code MARK to match in the first time deposit of up to $1,000. Go ahead and do that right now. We appreciate y'all. Also, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. It's a big day. Pop, come on, man. Handle this intro right.
This is family. This is absolute family. Baltimore's finest, part of one of the, some people say, the greatest high school team ever assembled at Dunbar in Baltimore. He's number 14, retired at Wake Forest, drafted number 12 by Washington in the 1987 draft. Just an incredible 14-year career. Family, former teammate of mine and a brother for life, the one and only legend, Tyrone Muggsy Bogues.
Go, let's go.
What's that, girl?
OG.
What's up there, fellas, man? It's an honor to be here on you guys' show. I've been watching you from afar. You know, I'm always proud of you, my brother. It's been a blessing to see what you have accomplished in your life, you know, throughout what we did as a kid growing up, and see where you are today and how you're able to, you know, raise your family. And looking at BLUU right now, and as I remind him about that big diamond earring he had when he was a kid, I mean, it's just a blessing to see him at this level, doing what he did. And I'm really, truly honored to be in you guys with us right now.
What was you thinking when you saw a 10-year-old BLUU with a big diamond earring in his hair?
I mean, you know, back then that wasn't in. I mean, he kind of was, he was starting that style. He was creating culture back then. And I'm like, hold on. What is this kid doing with a I only have a diamond ring on my finger. And he got one in his ear. Boy, I tell you, he was wearing it well. I loved it, though.
Thank you, Muggsy. Nobody really knows these stories, but my pops had me, he had me right sometimes. It wasn't even my idea. He was like, yo, you missing something, son. He was like, go ahead. Put the little rock in my ear. I was running through the facilities going crazy. Like,
well, see that he was doing that through you because that was something that he always wanted to do. So he had to live curiously through you. Yeah, he had to put it on you so he didn't, you know, bring that attention to himself.
But
I get that.
Talk to me about Baltimore and growing up in Baltimore and your experiences and how it impacted you moving forward to the man you are today.
You know, as a kid growing up in the inner city of Baltimore, it was challenging. You know, there's a lot of violence outside your door, a lot of drugs going on in your neighborhood. But, you know, as a kid, you know, you kind of, you know, not truly, you know, too concerned about those things. You know, you more or less concerned about the craft that you're interested in. And basketball was it, you know, even though we played other sports. When you're out there trying to pursue those dreams, and for me, you know, it was twofold because being small and every time I went out there being laughed upon, you know, and kids just had so many major, big, small jokes that at the time, you know, it was very hurtful. You know, you always say sticks and stones may hurt your bone, but words never hurt you. But it was deep. It was really deep. And it almost derailed me from, you know, pursuing my dreams. But luckily for me, I had a man in my neighborhood, Mr. Leon Howard. He was my blessing. You know, at the age of 6 years old, he was the one that instilled that game and gave me that knowledge of the game of basketball. He took me and Reggie Williams, who also was fortunate enough to go and play it all the way to the NBA. But he took us under our wing and gave us a vision that we never thought that we ever would have. You know, because we growing up, we thought life expectancy was no more past 20. You know, and getting shot at the age of 5, you know, it just turned my whole world around. It really allowed me to kind of let things, as people used to say, go one day and out the other.
Now that was actually my next question. I had heard that you were shot at the age of 5. Could you just explain what happened?
Yeah, just been at the wrong place at the wrong time. A fight had broken out outside of our apartment building, and me at the age of 5, just being nosy, looking out the window, wanting to go see what's going on because my brother and my sister was already outside. And as I got out there and witnessed what was happening, one of the kids took a rock and broke one of the man who owned this bar, his window. So the old man, Chester, just came running out his store and ran straight to his shed as opposed to just coming out here talking to the youngsters. He ran straight to his shed, grabbed his double-barrel shotgun. We all just started running. He pumped it and just started shooting. Luckily for me, the bullet missed my head, but all the buckshots hit me in my arms and my legs and all over. Once I recovered from that, that was, I think, the beginning of my mindset changing, where I didn't really care about what other people said.
Now, a couple of years back, I experienced something that you experienced years ago, losing my mom.
Right.
And I mean, my biggest cheerleader instilled so much in me as a young kid. It's something that I carry not only day to day, but moment to moment. Talk about the impact. Your mom was 4'11", right?
Yeah, she was 4'11".
Talk about the impact that she had on your life and, the memories you have.
Yeah, that was my heart. She was the only one that I believe was always in my corner, regardless of what anybody was saying or what they were saying, even though she knew nothing about the game of basketball. She just didn't like her little baby coming in upset, crying, and being disappointed. She always gave me that motherly advice. Ty, I was Ty back then. Ty, no one can be an expert on your life. No one knows your capability. They don't know your potential. They sure can't measure your hearts. If you want to go play basketball, son, you just go right out there and play basketball. And it really didn't register, even though it gave me that confidence to go out there, but it really didn't register until I really got older, understand what it truly meant. And by her giving me that sense of just motivation, just to keep going regardless of what was said, allowed me, as I said, it allowed me to stay on my path. Unfortunate for me, I lost her in 2001. Even though I had 3 years left on my contract, I had 14 years in the league already, 3 years remaining. But her not being there, not witnessing me playing anymore, I just didn't have it in her stomach. I just realized that, hey, I did well enough with my finance. I'm going to just go ahead and decide to move on to the next chapter of my life, even though it was difficult because you still had that inkling to still want to play. But her calling was more than me wanting to play. Just being there, being with her until she took her last breath.
Now, she said, Ty, where did Muggsy come from?
Well, that is interesting. At the age of 7 years old is when I became Muggsy. A friend of mine in the neighborhood by the name of Dwayne Wood, he was a small basketball player as well, very effective, impactful out on the court, and kind of, someone I kind of looked up to, trying to pattern my game behind. And as we was playing all the time, I was still in the basketball, and he always said, "Hey, you mugging everybody." And we still have a show come on every Saturday called the Bowery Boys. And one of the characters of the Bowery Boys, his name was Muggsy. He was the smallest guy in the neighborhood. He was the smallest one around his friends. And he was kind of not the leader, but always suggesting things, always what to do in the neighborhood. And I was kind of like that. So, I really didn't like it at the beginning because I thought they was talking about my mug. And I was really, I really was really, not digging it. But he grew on me. And as I said, it's been with me ever since that. People don't even really know my name is Tyrone.
So let me ask you, when you were growing up, obviously on the court, the height has always been something that made you stand out. When did you realize, hey, this is not really something that is going to stop me from making it, but something that I can use to my advantage?
Well, I think it all stems from where I grew up, playing against the type of players I had to compete against. They was very talented, even though they was much taller than myself. But I think once Mr. Howard explained the game to me, and as I kind of understood the game, I started to realize how I need to play the game. I didn't realize I felt that I had to play the game like all the other guards the way they played. I just felt like I want to kind of put a lot of pressure on the guys that bringing the ball up the court because I realized that's where it all started. And having that understanding of the game, I realized if I can kind of create some havoc in that area, making it difficult for them to get across and making them think about other things, now they're not focused on thinking about getting their teammates in place, setting them up, because they are the extension of the coach. And having that understanding and defensively, that's what I needed to do as a small guard. And, people always felt like, well, he's small, let me just take him down and post him up. But that was I loved that. That was something that I really relished because it was another means of me proving that I belonged on the floor. And I understood that a lot of guards, they're not used to playing with their back toward the basket. And it was more of a facade. And it was only a few seconds because, again, the game of basketball is so fast paced where you ain't getting 8, 9 dribbles where nobody's coming to help and that sort of thing where the game is being played. So understanding that format of it, understand how that player had to play, I realized that this is the way I had to play in order to be impactful.
Well, shout out to the Leon Howards of the world that in communities inspire and instill and deposit, positivity into young people's dreams. Talk about, I know you showed them love, but you've turned into a guy like Mr. Leon Howard in your own life, impacting people and passing it forward. Talk about how important that is, have OGs in your life.
It's very important. I mean, that's where it stems from. The people that came before you, they set the tone. And when they instill that type of information, then you got to pass it forward. And for me to be able to be in this position that I am today, that's all I think about, passing it forward. Because who knows what information you do for a kid? And that's what I always tell a kid. No matter what anybody tell you, whatever your dream is, it can come true. No one has that power over you. No one has that control over you. You're the one that has that pretty much control over you, and you control your own destination. So do not never give anyone power over you or who you think you should want to be. Because people always want to tell you who you should be, who you could be. Well, you're the only one that know who you want to be.
That's good right there. Now you talk about taking people under your wing and giving back. And I know that you went to Wake Forest, and somebody who said that you gave them that experience was none other than the legendary Chris Paul, who said that you took him under your wing and that you showed him a lot of things. So can you maybe speak about that relationship?
Well, I saw Chris very early in his career. I used to do basketball camps at Wake Forest. Even when I retired, I used to go back every summer and do 2 weeks of camp. And during those times, Chris was coming up and he was starting to get a lot of recognition in high school. And I used to have him over my basketball camps. Bring him over, just talk to him about the game. I saw how of a student he was of the game. He always asked questions, always wanted the information. And I used to always tell him about how I used to try to steal the basketball in terms of timing the ball, once they go down because you can't get it back. And he always remembered that, certain things, and being small, I guess, closer to the ball allowed me to be able to, have that ability to do so. And actually, I have him in there working on his floaters, because I knew that was something that he was always going to need, because he used to always jump off of 2 feet when he was in college, always trying to jump off 2 feet over the bigger guy. And I realized that wasn't going to work on that next level. And he was like a sponge. He soaked up all that information. I always stayed humble to, who he was and as his growth. And I always been so proud of him and his family, of the way he's conducted himself, not just after basketball, but as a young man in terms of his vision of the game moving forward, as well as the representing all the players that also need to understand what it all takes in terms of being an NBA player, when it's off the court.
Now, I don't know if you know this story, going back to high school. My senior year in high school, our team, Bishop Lockman High School, won the state championship in New York. And there was rumors we were trying to, at the end of the season, set up a one-game tournament with this team from Baltimore that everybody was raving about. Obviously, we're in New York. We don't have a clue. We know the names. We know what your accomplishments are. But we don't know how good you guys are. Looking back, I am ecstatic. I am glad that we never faced your high school team, because you guys were absolutely loaded across the board. Talk about the greatness that you saw day in and day out.
And that's what is such truly a blessing, knowing what's going on in today's world in terms of how they formulate these, championship high school teams, bringing kids from all over the country to form these major top, tier teams. We all lived in the neighborhood. We all lived down the street from one another, up the street from each other, and we all grew up playing against each other. Reggie and I, we lived in the same neighborhood, so we played with each other all that time. But the likes of a David Wingate, the likes of late Reggie Lawrence, who also made it on that team. And we was fortunate enough to have 11 guys on that team get Division I scholarships, when we all came out. And we didn't get a chance to play you guys. We heard about Bishop, of course, but we got an opportunity to play which they considered the number one team in the country, was Camden, New Jersey, where they had Billy Thompson and Kevin Walls and those guys, where they haven't lost a game probably in, they say, 30 years. So we was fortunate enough to go up there and showcase, what our skills was all about. And I remember as soon as I walked out on the court, the fans, they were just laughing. They just burst out laughing, like, what this little kid doing out there going against our top guard? And then keep in mind, the kid, Kevin Walls, he fed off the crowd. And he started pointing out to my head like it's going to be an easy thing. And my coach kind of got a whiff of it. And he called me up and said, you go, Ken? Like, Coach, I'm fine, man. We about to have a party out here. And sure enough, the first 2 minutes, the game was over because, he tried to bring it up the first 3 times. I guess he thought it was a fluke the first time, and then the second time. And then once I stole it again the third time, we gave it to Wingate and he dunked it. Coach called timeout and kind of let somebody else bring the ball up. But we was up by 31 at halftime, won by 25. The game was over from that moment, and we became the number one team in the country. And I guess Reggie Williams became the number one player in the country because he took over that ranking from Billy Thompson.
I don't want to throw fuel to the fire, but who got the best ballers? Baltimore and NY.
Well, it's a lot of ball all over the place. And New York got a lot of ball players. BMORE got a whole lot of ball players as well. But, that's the beauty of the game. It's all over. The game now has become global, and that's the wonderful thing about watching the skill set of the game. I sit back and kind of get, hear all the conversation with the young guys and talk about the game today and as opposed to the game back then and how they don't understand eras are all different. And they don't understand that skill set is totally different in terms of what that NBA called for at that particular time. And in our time, we didn't have big guys bringing the ball up court. They played with that back towards the basket. Today, they're bringing it up the court. So these guys who are big now got to work on that aspect of the game in order to fit the style of the game today.
All right. I might hold on, Pops. Hold on. I might have given him too broad of a question. I gotta, because it's two Big East dudes here. I played at Louisville. It's the St. John's dude here. I want to know Big East or ACC historically.
Well, I'm always ACC. I'm going to say ACC. And that's one of the reasons why a lot of Big East teams now came over to the ACC. Because
oh, my goodness.
Oh, my. Here we go with this.
Because they realized what type of conference the ACC is. The Atlantic Coast Conference is one of the tough conferences that ever had been established. But I take nothing away from St. John or what's the Georgetown, that other school they had over there.
That other school, like you don't know.
Yeah. I say that because they should have got me before I went to Wake Forest, and he regret that, may he rest in peace. He told me that, by letting me go to Wake Forest. But they had Michael Jackson, so I understood.
Let me ask you, because we're going back to your high school and talking about that Georgetown team, how proud was you watching the guy you grew up with in Reggie Williams win a national championship and be an impactful player for the Georgetown Warriors?
That was a beautiful moment to witness. We just came off winning high school championship, being the number one team in the country. And then saying, Reggie as well as Wingate there as well. But Reg as a freshman, having the type of impact that he did in that game and being the MVP in that game after it's all said and done. You always kid on him, after the game was over, his interview, he got a little flustered there. and they asked him a question. He went, I said, that's what happened when Coach Thompson don't let y'all talk to the media. You're not prepared enough. You're not ready. And they caught you off guard. But yeah, it was a beautiful moment watching him accomplish that goal his freshman year in high school. In college.
Now this is just a side note, but I heard that you were quite the wrestler back in the day.
Oh yeah. Well, that was my thing then. Yeah. Mark will tell you, that was my thing there.
That
was my thing there. As wrestling and basketball was my two passions. And unfortunately for me, they ran in the same season. And when I got to high school, because I used to be able to do it, all the way up to junior high. But once I got to high school, that's where it all changed because they both were started the same. And coach told me, hey, you got to make a decision. You play basketball, you're going to wrestle. And my wrestling coach, he really believed that, Muggsy, man, this is the means where you can get an opportunity to go to college. You can get an education. You can move on, do something good for your life and so forth. Because he didn't believe that basketball was the future for me. And, and I was like, okay, I appreciate that. But I wasn't even thinking about pursuing wrestling. Basketball was at the forefront. And that was something that I was always trying to pursue. I had I hate to say this, but I had an incident when I was with the Hornets. And they test my wrestling skills, Mark. They test my wrestling skill. And it had to be the big 6'9" J.R. REID. So, and Kendall Gill loved telling this story. Because JR there messing with me, I told him, leave me alone. And he kept on messing around. So I said, okay. So I picked him up. That dirty laundry basket we had. Threw him in the dirty laundry basket. And I think that was the last. Basket? Yeah. That was the last time he ever wanted to wrestle me or mess with me anymore.
So 5'3" Muggsy Bogues picks up 6'9", 260 J.R. REID and throws him in the laundry basket.
Yeah. I was a little strong back there.
Yeah, I know. You ain't tell me. I'm well aware of it. And one not underrated, but everybody that played back then and played with him well aware. Come in clean, pinstripe suit, cleanest suit, down to his knees, different color gaiters, and you can't say nothing to him. He walking there like he owned the spot, man.
that my rookie year, Big Moses Malone, rest in peace. I was the Baltimore Pimp. So they used to call me the Baltimore Pimp because I'm coming there with pink skins on, the green gaiters on. Back then, color was in. It was in back then.
See, you talking about my earring, and you got the gators in the fluorescent suit. What's going on, man? Let me rock out.
Yeah, but don't let your pops get away with it now. He ain't gonna tell you about his outfits that he used to have.
What was he rocking?
I think I think he had this beaver coat. Was it a beaver coat?
Oh my goodness! Here we go, man. This is your interview. This ain't about me.
So but that's what I'm just telling you. Your father. That's why you had that earring in your ear at the age of 10. Because that's where he was back in the time. In terms of the stock.
But let me ask you. I got to ask this question because this has been bothering me for a long, long time. 1987 NBA draft. Washington Bullets at the time with the 12th pick in need of a point guard. They had Michael Adams, who was 5'5", and he was, they were trying to improve the point guard position. I'm on the board. I'm thinking, I'm 6'3", 6'4". They got to pick me. They need a point guard. With the 12th pick of the 1987 draft, Washington Bullets select Tyrone Muggsy Bogues. Baltimore Pimp? It still bothers me, man, but I understand the move today. But at the time, I'm thinking, you took a 5'3" point guard? What are we doing?
Yeah. Because
did you have any clue? Did you know that you was?
I had no clue that Washington was going to take me, but I had an inkling because I never tried. I didn't work out for Washington. I worked out for New York. I worked out for Denver. And what was the other team? I forgot what it was that had the pick that I thought I was going to go. But I never worked out for Washington. But I started hearing a lot of stuff that it's a possibility that Washington could take me. And I'm like, Washington? But I never had no conversation with Washington. And so that's why I was a little shocked, a little surprised. And when I dapped you up when I went past you, as we were sitting down, I had my MCM bag, as I was walking with my sharp suit on, it dapped you up, letting you know that you're the boy next, big fella. You're the boy. Yeah.
But one thing that was key is going to Portsmouth with two guys that really stood out and elevated their position in the draft. A young player by the name of Scottie Pippen, and obviously you. Talk about that experience.
Yeah, I think that was the edge that kind of took me over the camp that took me over the edge. I had a lot of great showing everywhere I've gone. The USA game that we played with the World Games, and then coming back and at the Combine. But then when we went to Chicago, down to Portsmouth, Scottie Pippen was on my team, and I never even heard about Scottie.
Right.
Believe it or not, I had Scottie Pippen and Jamie Wilder. Remember Jamie Wilder from
Yes,
Virginia
absolutely.
Union? Jumped out
Yeah.
the gym. So I had two guys that really was athletic and just wanted to run the wing. And that's all I needed. Somebody to run with me. And then we was able to turn that thing around, man. And I think my stock, they had me going late, early second, possibly late first round, to where they went all the way up to number 12. So that was a very important camp for me.
Let me ask you one more question off of that, BLUU, real quick. You represented the United States FIBA and had great experience with a loaded team. Fast forward, put yourself in Jason Tatum's position representing the United States in the Olympics, and you get a DMP where you don't play. How would you have handled that? What's your thoughts on it?
You know what? I love how JT handled it. He's a pro. You didn't hear any gripes about what should have been done or I should have been played. He just stayed into himself and let others talk about what should have happened. That should not have happened. At least you can find a way to get them minutes. Basically, because of who he is and the type of and what he brings to the table. I understand you got multiple players at that position, but a guy coming off a championship who was one of the main reasons of them winning, and what he meant to the lead, not only being a first team All NBA, that should have never been on his resume. And Steve knows that. I think he will sit back and realize that, hey, I should have found some minutes, but in hindsight, when you're in it, it's kind of hard to kind of make that decision at the time. But I'm quite sure he regret that.
If you're him and you get the chance to go back in 4 years, do you return?
Yes, I'll return. You leave that behind. That happens. It happened. You're a gold medal winner. That experience back then. What all happened, and it's time to move on. You don't need to hang in the past. You'll be a better man from it by going and accepting the next Olympics that's going to be up in 2028.
Now, we touched on earlier you playing with the Hornets. You spent a lot of time, 11 years with Del Curry, and obviously you saw me with the earring in, but you also saw a lot of another young man in the name Steph Curry. Can you speak a little bit about just seeing him grow up in your relationship? I know you guys are still very close.
I'm just so proud of Steph and Seth. What they've accomplished and how they're able to accomplish and how they handle themselves. In our wildest dream, as they say, a player like me, we never thought that they were making it to the NBA. Steph was even being considered small, considered a guy like myself and he's 6'1", 6'2", but he had a small frame and nobody really gave him a chance and thought that he would be the player that he was. I think that he is. Virginia Tech, their own school turned their back on him. And seeing the way he just stayed focused and went to Davidson and put them on the map. And now is considered one of the best shooters that ever laced it up in the game. That is mind-boggling to me. It is truly mind-boggling. But I saw the progression, and I really thank your pops for allowing him to become the player he was. Because when he got to Golden State, a lot of questions were still being asked about Stephen, and especially because of his ankle. Monte Ellis was still there, and it was kind of confusing. But it takes someone who understands the game, who understands what it takes, and seeing the level of a player and the potential of players and where they can be. And it's only just a matter of putting in that time and giving them that space to be able to be that player. It wouldn't be no Splash Brothers without your pops' vision and understanding how to allow these guys to be the best version of themselves. And people let that, people lose that sight because it's, it's not being talked about in a deep as much as it should. But he's the reason behind that. And Stephen will say that to this day, as well as Clay. And it's just a beautiful thing just to be witnessing how he's able to conduct himself, and again, on and off the court, and be the professional that he is.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that love and acknowledgement. Credit to those guys. They're incredible talent, and they deserve all the respect and appreciation and the credit for what they've been able to do. But I read somewhere where Steph Curry's goal was simply to be 5'3" and be like Uncle Muggsy.
Yeah, that's what he used to always say. I just want to be 5'3". I just want to be like Young Muggs. But, and I'm saying to myself, well, if you 5'3", we're going to question who your daddy is. And so I wanted to make sure that he understood he ain't going to be no 5'3". But again, man, I'm just so in awe watching Steph, watching Sadell, just watching them grow as, the men that they are, the young women that they became, now they become parents, their fathers, and raising their own kids. I mean, it's like it come full circle. I mean, to be able to still witness it, I'm just really honored.
Absolutely. Now we're talking about former teammates. We spent time in Toronto and we watched young Steph and Seth shoot in the practice facility and get ready. But one guy that put on a clinic every day in practice and in games was the great Hall of Famer, current about to be in Hall of Fame, is Vince Carter. Talk about how special of a talent he was.
Man, it surely was a treat to be around Vince and Tracy, as well as, when we all was there. It really was, because seeing a guy that young with so much talent, so much upside, and to be able to see it on a daily basis. And he didn't shortcut the game at all. That's one thing Vince did never do. He never shortcut the game. I think he don't get as much credit as he should, but he was just such a nice guy. He was just a nice guy, cared about his teammates, cared about his team, wanted to win, wanted to do it the right way. And he took a lot of slack by going to Chapel Hill to get his degree and coming back and playing in the game. Took a lot of heat from that. I'm just so proud. I was so proud of him accomplishing that goal, still having the mindset, and still had the game shot to possibly win that series. So, I mean, you can't say enough about what Vince had done for the city, not only the city of Toronto, but for the country of Canada. Because now you have a lot of those Canadian basketball players that's in the NBA. It's all due to Vince Carter. That's where the vision came from. That's where it stems from Vince Carter, his impact that he had on that city and that country. And I'm so happy to see him get his flowers, to be able to be, on his first ballot, because it's well-deserved.
Now, let me ask you, because we gave him love, now we push that aside. How funny was it every single night watching him fall down, acting like he was about to go in the back? And then next thing you know, he's flying through the air. We got to the point where we were like, oh, that's Vince. We ain't going out there. We ain't very well.
Yeah, well, that was him. That was Vince. I didn't understand it at the beginning. I didn't understand it at the beginning. But then once I realized, hey, that's Vince. That's just Vince, So I started to accept what I was seeing, because at first I couldn't put it in context. I'm like, what the heck is going on? So, but that was him, though. Yeah, I can't remember you. I can't believe you remember that. Yeah. We had some characters on our team, from the Oakleys and the Kevin Willis and all the way down to the Doug Christie. That was a crew that we had on that squad over there.
A lot of fun.
Yeah.
You talk about the adversity that you dealt with. I know that you lost a friend and a former high school teammate in Reggie Lewis. Maybe speak a little bit about that relationship and how tough that experience was for you.
Yeah, that was very tough. I mean, we was actually playing, the Celtics, who Reg was actually the star of the team at the time, playing them in the playoff. And when you just seen him just fall, we thought he got tripped. But then when you go back and watch the footage, I mean, no one was around him. He just fell. That was very concerning. But what really was concerned that he came back in the game and got more buckets and then went back out. And then when he left, and then after the game, we got the word of what was the cause. And, we were stunned. We were very stunned because all that years growing up, we never knew he had any heart condition, any type of heart problem. But now that we know, it stems from his family. Once I found out and got the news when it happened, I was in Phoenix because I had just spoken to him about 2 weeks prior, and not even knowing that he was, still trying to work out, still in that sort of thing. So I was devastated when I got the news because, we felt the guy was taken too soon by then. So,
And a guy at his size with all those skills and all those tools, he was becoming and became the face of the Boston Celtics.
Yeah, I mean, Larry Bird had passed the torch. That's one of the reasons why Larry retired. He passed the torch to Reg, and Reg was running away with it. I mean, he was one of the most versatile players that you can, have on your team. I mean, he played both ends of the floor. He was a two-way player. One of the players that really, always gave Michael a little trouble, because of his length when he used to play. But Reg was, him and Reggie Williams was almost identical, man. They was the player they were, the mannerisms that they carried with themselves. They both were very quiet. And so we always knew that Reg was going to be, very special wherever he landed.
Well, one thing that's funny, Blue, Muggsy at 5'3". Anytime I just now would be the post-up play, I'd back him down or get on the block and catch the basketball, and he'd yell, "No help, no help, no help! Come on, baby, come on!" He didn't want any help. He took the challenge, and truly, in my opinion, without a doubt, one of the greatest defenders that the league has ever seen. He would steal the basketball mid-dribble. You dribbling the basketball, it's not like he's picking your pocket. He's dribbling it, taking it, and taking the next bounce. Incredible defender and tenacious on the defensive end, but wanted no help.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable.
Yeah, that was something. I mean, I was pride. That was my pride there, and I felt like I could handle myself down there. I felt like I was strong enough. They let you play with your forearm in the back, so nobody wasn't gonna back me all the way back in because of my legs was really solid. And I could keep getting that low gravity. But that was always a challenge. But, my problems were with guys like Mark and Magic and Penny because they knew how to pass out of it. See, they had vision. It wasn't about just the scoring. It was about vision in terms of where the help was coming from. So those are the guys which really gave me, a little difficult in terms of out there playing.
I actually heard you speak before and say that one of the dudes that gave you reality check when you first came in the league was Magic Johnson, and guarding a dude at your size 6'9" posts you up. I know that had to be unbelievable. What was that like?
Well, it wasn't that Magic was scoring on me. That's the thing about it. It was just that he was hitting the cutters, and because when the guys came to help, he was hitting that man. So I'm like, well, what the hell y'all come to help for? Let's stay home. Let him score. Yeah. So that was that that was just my mindset, man. My mentality. I always thought the game big. My mind was always beyond. I felt like I had a very high IQ of the game of basketball, where to be on the floor, how to keep myself on the floor as a Brown. Just being a little guy to come in and be a little plug, a spot, what they call a spark plug. Come in and out. I wasn't trying to play the game that way. I wanted to be out there controlling things and being able to, be a decision maker.
Yeah, you that was brilliant because guys like Magic and I know myself, I wanted to make the play. So you was doing me a favor. You was doing me a favor by double teaming and sending help, and I just picked the defensive part by finding an open man. So the right decision would be let you play one-on-one against us and do us, force us to do something that we're not as comfortable doing, which was scoring.
Yeah, and that was my whole understanding, and that's why I say that, you know, you got to know who you playing against. You got to know their tendency, and that's one thing I always knew who I was playing against, and strengthen their weaknesses and keep them more toward their weaknesses or their strength, and not knowing that guys, as I said earlier, you know, a lot of guards don't know how to play with their back toward the basket. So not having that understanding, all of a sudden now you throw them in that situation, they're not comfortable. Now you're taking it away from the, you know, the guys who normally be in that position. So I feel like it's a win-win for me, you know, in that when it comes to that situation. But you know, guys got ego and they figure, well, they got this advantage and this height distinction between me and them, and they feel like, well, shit, I can post them out and just take them back. Next, you know, you might get somewhere close to it, but then all of a sudden the ball might be gone because you know where the ball starts. You got to bring it up. So you know, I was famous for getting it before it get up. Yeah. So I will play you in front of you. I'm gonna play behind you. So you know, I'll play you all kinds of ways. You looking around, you may think that you know that you had beat me, but I let you get in front because I'm playing defense from behind you. And if you looking behind me now, you're not looking forward. If you're not looking behind me, then I'm coming to get it. You know, that's just how I thought the game.
I know y'all had plenty of battles over the years. Any specific stories that y'all want to share?
Oh man, Mark has so many battles. Good God, might from 5-star. Damn. Yeah, it goes
I'll tell you
on.
the most impressive thing to me at 5-star had nothing to do with you and I, but Reggie Williams had something to prove.
Yes.
And we're in windy, outside, wind blowing crazy, and it was guys that was ranked ahead of him. He put on the greatest shooting performance in the All-Star game that I ever seen in the middle of Pennsylvania, the wind blowing. He had something to prove. 6'7", every time, hit nothing but the bottom of the net. That's the thing I remember at 5-star and that experience with you.
Yeah, I remember that as well. Because we talked about that on our way home, how their wind was blowing. You know, I used to wind blowing outside and, you know, you try to shoot there and that thing carrying over there. But for whatever reason, Reg, he was determined because he was hearing all that before we got up there. Who was ahead of him? You know, and one thing about it, as I say, he don't talk much. Reg very seldom talk, and he was just ready for that moment. And he was, you know, I think we had Dave Popson and Tom Sheehy.
Absolutely.
You know, Tom Sheehy, and they was getting a lot of, for whatever reason, they was getting a lot of pub back then. And, you know, Reg couldn't understand it. And so that was one of the things that he wanted to make sure to come across that, you know, these guys going to be talking about me when I leave.
Now, was you the type of teammate that put a battery in his back prior to the game?
Yeah, you know, because I was the most outgoing one, you know, and I'm the one that, you know, especially when guys thinking they this and that, and I'm like, man, you just wait. And you know, I'm pumping them up, boy, you get blah, blah, blah. Hey, I would tell you the story. I remember when Pearl was there, right? Wait, Pearl, rest in peace. Pearl came in, we was there. He had his shoes untied. He came, walked in, he had his big old Pac-Man chain. All right. I had the guy by the name of Ray Mullins. He used to coach Gardner Gibbons back in Maryland. So he was giving me information about, you know, Pearl, because we play Pearl, and, you know, we heard about this and that. And Pearl was like, yeah, I heard about that little guy, yeah, but, you know, this and that. So I'll never forget this. Pearl come down, right? His first day, he come down, he wanted, you know me, I got that. I'm laying it up. So the next time Pearl come down, you know, he turned his back to me and give me the little skit, the little hit in it. And he did a little shimmy. So I kind of act like I was on this side, and he thought I was on that side, but I was around the other side. And I kind of hit the ball behind him, and my man got it and then threw it to me, and I laid it up. He could not realize what the. So next time he did, I saw he got real low, and he was coming down like this, just making sure that he could kind of control it, but he was kept it real tight, walking it down court, trying to call the play. But that was the first time I witnessed Pearl when he was out there when they was calling him the Pac-Man. But Pearl had so much stuff with him, man. I tell you, watching them playing against the other players and seeing how he was able to maneuver, ball hand, he had that thing on the string. That was something special to watch.
See, there's one thing about the Baltimore Pimp. You heard him say, watching him against the other players.
Well, because he couldn't get his way, couldn't have his way with me. He probably need to play against me a couple more times to probably figure it out. But that was the first time I ever seen a guy like me playing, playing against him, and he not realizing, when you have so much success against players, and everybody kind of fit that mold. But when you play against a guy that is different from, this is something that I ain't never experienced. This type of guy picking me up 94 feet every time I get the basketball. I need that cushion. So, when players not accustomed to that, that could kind of, at the wear and tear, that's just a little wear and tear.
Well, truthfully, you're one of one. There's been a lot of small players throughout history, but you are one of one. You've impacted on the defensive end, leading a break and making plays like no other small guy in the history of the game, in my opinion. So shout out to that. Question about today's game. The great Anthony Edwards, and I said this respectfully, but recently made comments referring to the players of the 90s, where Michael Jordan was basically, I'm paraphrasing, was basically the only high-skilled player. Talk about the players that we played against and played with that would still be great, great players today.
Man, listen, I believe every NBA player who played on the NBA level believe they can play in any era. If they didn't think that way, they wouldn't even got to the era, to that level at the beginning. As I said earlier, skill sets changed. The era changed. You think about the era when Bob Cousy was playing, how the game was played back then. And then all of a sudden, Magic and them come along, how the game was played in the early 80s. And then we in the late 80s and we in the early 90s, how the game was played then. And then even when the 2000 came in, the game was played a little different because of the rules. They had to change the rules because of the skill set of certain individuals. So that's always going to be the case. And for Anthony Edwards, which I love, for him to say that Michael was the only skilled player back in the 90s, that is ridiculous. That's not being a student of the game, because if you call yourself a student of the game, then you look at all the eras, and just like now that they talk about who's this GOAT, that GOAT. That's so disrespectful for so many guys that play this game. It's so disrespectful, but we can all see that when we look at a player, what type of skill set he possessed, and if he had any type of deficiencies amongst his game. We only seen a guy that didn't have any deficiency and had the fundamentals as well as the athletic ability to play it at the highest level as no one played. And so, I would never say who is the GOAT of the game, but I would say that, MJ was a different player than any other player that I have ever witnessed, and he became that guy that feared a lot of opponents. Kareem numbers, LeBron numbers, you got numbers, and people would forget about Kobe. How are you going to forget about Kobe? What he's accomplished and the way he was able to play the game and impact it, the second coming of MJ. So it's really, it's sad that, folks think if they call themselves a student of the game, if they can't see that full vision of all the players that came through the league and how they was able to impact the league, the Jerry West. You just keep going on about the Oscar Robertson, these guys that played the game, how they impact the game in terms of who is the best player that ever played this game. That's ridiculous.
You don't got nothing to say, Pops? You gonna make me responsible to that? What's up?
No.
You know how I feel. I'll respond. Look, I agree with everything that you said. I feel like if you took somebody like Bob Cousy, or some of the players that you named, and you put them in today's game and taught them and told them, hey, this is the way that the game is played, they would still be at the level that they were all-time level. So I think it's just timing and what you learn at that time or the way the game is played. So I agree with you. But I do think that the GOAT conversation, as much as I hear you saying it's disrespectful, I think it's a necessary conversation, because when you do separate guys like Michael Jordan, Kareem, LeBron, Kobe from the pack, it ultimately is a sign of respect.
Okay, what you consider the GOAT?
Who?
I said, what do you consider as the GOAT?
Oh, to me, I'm very straightforward with my guidelines. So to me, LeBron hits all of the stats. If you are statistically doing it for this long of a time, I think that it's unfair to be like a dude that did it for a shorter amount of time just because he didn't lose in the finals is better. I can't agree with that.
Well, I just think, he stayed healthier than everybody, like played longer than everybody. So he was able to accumulate those numbers. If guys would have stayed longer, they might have accumulated those numbers as well. Some guys that took a little time off and then came back and played. But my thing is, do LeBron have a deficiency?
Yes. Yeah.
And what is that?
I would say it's more than one thing. I would say
there's more than okay. I'm gonna just leave it at that. It's more than one thing. What is MJ's deficiency?
I would say that MJ's deficiency, and nobody ever wants to talk about it. We torched Kobe for his selfish plays because we watched it firsthand all at the same time, and there was social media. So we could say, yo, he shot over 5 people and there's a dude in the corner. We don't say that for Michael Jordan because we don't see all of the game footage right away. But that's a deficiency to me, that he won't make the right play at certain times.
But that's not a deficiency. That's not a skill set. That's not a skill set. That's just a decision, a choice that he made because he feel like he can accomplish on 5 or 3 guys that's playing if he can still be successful. What I'm saying is
that's a fair point.
LeBron can't shoot free throws. Well, I don't say. Let me take it. I'm not saying that he can't shoot free throws. He's not a great free throw shooter. I love LeBron. I mean, I really love LeBron James. I love what LeBron stands for. I love what LeBron has done with his basketball career. How he's able to came in as day one and still has kept that status all the way through to his 21 years or how many years he's played without any blemish on his record. I love it. And what he has done in the community and uplift his people that are around him, that is beyond remarkable. But when it comes to the game of basketball and the skill set of the game of basketball, that's where it separates from a guy like MJ and a guy like LeBron in terms of the skill set. Michael had no deficiency fundamentally. He was one of the most fundamentally sound guys that ever played the game. And athletic-wise, I mean, hey, that's in the class of his own. So that's why when I say about guys, and MJ always hasn't been that way. When he was in college, he couldn't even go left. It was hard for him to go left, but he worked on that aspect of his game to the point to where that has not become a deficiency anymore. So that's what I talk about when I say skill set, when I talk about the game and, how one consider himself as the top of it. I look at the skill set and what they can do overall. That's where I come in.
You heard it from the Muggsy Bogues show. You heard it from the Muggsy Bogues show.
You broke it down good. Nah, dog, you broke it down. You broke it down.
Muggs, 2 more things from me. Blocking the shot of the great Patrick Ewing. Talk about that.
I told Big Pat, as soon as I did it, and as I came back, I told him he was going to be part of my highlight family. Right? I told him he was going to be part. Pat, he always wanted to do that little fadeaway, and I just happened to be right there when he tried to do it. And it didn't take much to get it. But when I got it, I mean, he was so surprised, being at the right place at the right time.
That sounds good, but he watches every show. So send him a message right now about that.
And you know what?
Talk to Patrick.
And I saw the show when he was on with you guys. I saw the big fella. Big fella, you know ain't nothing but love. You know it ain't nothing but love. You know I had a 44-inch vertical back then. You know, I could get up. You can't be testing me like that in front of me. Come on, Big Daddy.
And he's not even the tallest guy that you blocked his shot. In practice, you blocked 7'7", the new bowl shot. Talk about that.
Yeah, and you know, Newt, he chased me around the gym for 15 minutes right afterwards. Because, you know, he had a little slingshot. He used to put the shot on his shoulder. And like I said, I had a 44-inch. And as he put that on his shoulder, boy, he was mad. That made Moses' day. He chased me. You should see this big guy chase me around Boise State gym raids and trying to catch me. Long legs, and you know he can't run as fast as I can. But it was a treat, man. I tell you, I miss that guy. And he's another one tried to wrestle me.
Tell us what happened, Muggs.
And we on the elevator, and knowing that his head is like this, he got his head ducked down because he can't stand all the way on top of the elevator. And he always poking me in my side like, I'm like, Newt, stop, Newt. Newt, stop. He got, yeah. He did it one too many times. And my reaction just, as soon as he did it, I just grabbed it like, and forgot that his head was right here at the top of the step. And when I picked him up, his head was at the top. Oh man, as soon as the elevator opened, he chased me down the hall, trying to catch me down the hallways in the hotel. We was at the guest quarters in Philadelphia. You remember we used to play there? We'd go play at the Philly at the guest quarters. Yeah, Newt was funny, man. I missed that guy. He was funny.
He was great. Well, thank you so much for joining us in this episode of the Mark Jackson Show. That's the great Tyrone Muggsy Bogues, greatest little man to ever play the game, in my opinion, when you're talking about true small players. His impact is legendary, and a guy I absolutely believe should be in the Basketball Hall of Fame because of his impact and what he's able to do. My brother, family for life, the great Muggsy Bogues. Thank you so much, bro. Love you, man.
Appreciate you, OG. Thank you, guys. Love you guys, man. I'm so proud of you. BLUU, keep doing what you do. Get the air ring again, man. I'm going to bring it back. Bring it back. All right, boss.
Thanks, bro.
All right, fella. Y'all be good. Appreciate you, legend. My man.
Let's shout out our sponsors, Underdog Fantasy. Don't forget, click the link in the bio and use the promo code MARK. That's M-A-R-K. You'll get a special pick and up to $1,000 bonus cash. Go ahead and do that right now. Don't forget, go get the new merchandise. The hand down, man down merchandise is here. Go to thatman.store. Once again, it's thatman.store. You can get your gear right now. We appreciate you.
And shout out to our creative director, my middle son, JetStanley, who did a great job with all the designs. Thank you so much for the love and support. Remember, former head coach of mine, Hall of Famer and one of the true GOATs in the history of sports coaching-wise, Pat Riley, once was coaching a team. And the story is told before a big playoff game, he walks into the locker room and sees one of his starting players walking with a suit and tie, clean as a board of hell, injured and saying he couldn't play. Pat Riley waited to the pregame to walk around the locker room, giving his speech. And he stopped in front of that player and he asked him a question. He said, if I needed one stop, if I needed one basket, if I needed one play, one charge, one deflection, could you give it to me? Could you give me one play? Guy with a suit and tie looked at Pat Riley and says, yeah, coach, I could. Pat Riley then points in his face and said, then why aren't you dressed? Now let me talk to you. I know you're hurt. I know you're not 100%. I know there's something going on in your life. I'm here to tell you, we need you. A text, a call, a word of encouragement, something. Get in the game. Give me what you got. It's time to make a play. Bless you.